that was when I knew that this is what I'm working for. I'm working to create these opportunities where they didn't exist before and to really help other people support their families and to have this connection with my father's home country.
Welcome to Make Good Fashion, the podcast that's all about starting, launching, and growing impactful fashion brands. I'm your host, Jasmine Rennie. Before I start today's episode, I have a very special announcement, so listen up. And that announcement is that the Make Good Fashion shop is now live. So what do we have in the Make Good Fashion shop? Well, I'm glad you asked, friend, because we have all the things. We're talking a sourcing directory of over 200 fashion industry manufacturers, vendors, and suppliers that you can access in one click. We also have cost sheets that will help you calculate the true cost of your garments and tell you exactly how much to price them for. We also have budgets so that you can keep all your finances in orders and so much more. So make sure to head over to makegoodfashion.com/shop. You guys, these templates are essential and things that every fashion business should have. So make sure to head over to the Make Good Fashion shop so that you can tap in and get yours today. Hey friends, welcome back to the Make Good Fashion podcast. Today I have the privilege of interviewing Xiomara of UnoEth. UnoEth is a father-daughter handbag business that sells the most beautiful leather handbags and accessories. They hail from Northern California, from San Francisco, but all of their goods are produced by artisans in Ethiopia. In today's episode, Xiomara takes me through the journey of how her and her father created this beautiful brand as an homage to her father's home country. We talk about how she was able to get gritty and raise capital for the business in only a couple months, and her motivation to build a brand with a greater purpose than herself. You guys are going to be so inspired by this episode. It's real, it's authentic, and so encouraging for anybody on this entrepreneurial journey. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Xiomara. Hey, Xiomara, how's it going? Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Hi, Jasmine. I'm doing amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
Amazing. Okay, so I want to hear a little bit about your background. We all know that you are the founder of UnoEth, this beautiful bag company, but I want to know how you got here. I heard that you used to work in corporate America before this, so tell me how you landed on being a handbag designer.
I it's funny. I think about my path and how I got to where I am now. It's kind of funny. I started out in marketing and advertising. That was since I was in high school. I just wanted to be in advertising. I just thought that I love the creative side of business, and that's where I just wanted to get into. I think I was inspired by some movie or something like that, but I started out in advertising and marketing at an ad agency here in San Francisco, and then I got into social media management and a little bit of sales. And a part of me really just loved retail. I was in retail when I was in college, working at Express and different stores and boutiques. And I really wanted to have a say of what was actually being sold as opposed to how we're communicating to the consumer and to buy it or to inform about this brand and whatnot. And so I went back to school at FITM, the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising, also in San Francisco. And I studied merchandise buying and the retail side or the business side of retail. And after that, I worked for Pottery Barn. I started out in their email marketing as a planner, and then I switched over into merchandising and assistant buyer in textiles. And from there, I learned so much. It was such a fast-paced environment and in home decor. And during that time, my dad went to Ethiopia, where he's from, and he got me a leather messenger bag as a gift. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. I can carry my laptop and commute from Oakland to San Francisco every day, because it was a long commute consisting of taking a casual carpool with a stranger and then walking a mile to work and then back and then taking the subway back home. So it was really great to be hands-free. Little did I know that this leather messenger bag would cause so much attention. I would get stopped on the sidewalk, at a coffee shop, on the subway, at work. Everyone asked me where I got this bag. And I was like, oh, it's handmade in Ethiopia. My dad got it for me as a gift. It was custom made by this artisan. And they're like, oh, that's so cool, so cool. And they're just, everyone kept asking me about this bag. And I talked to my dad. I was like, hey, dad, like, the people keep asking about this bag. He's like, babe, me too, me too. And he's like, we should start a business. I'm like, I'm working at this very demanding corporate job. I'm styling on the side for Stitch Fix and trying to buy a house in the Bay Area, which is super competitive. I don't really have the time to do all of this. And he's like, okay, okay. Another like month like passes by, still compliments, questions. And at that point, we had friends and like some of my coworkers ask, hey, when's your dad going back to Ethiopia? And I'm like, I don't know, I think in a couple months or so. And they're like, we place a pre-order for that bag. And I'm like, a pre-order with who? Like, I don't, this company doesn't exist. What are you talking about? So I told my dad, and he said, babe, I really think that we should try. We should do this. I was like, you know what? Fine. Let's go ahead and do it. And so he connected with the artisan that he met back in Ethiopia. His name is Muzayan Siraj. And we helped him get his leather export license so that he can ship goods to us. And I sent Muzayan over some sketches, very loose sketches. And we went back and forth on like finishings and designs and all of that. And my dad went back to Ethiopia with 2 empty suitcases and came back with them full of leather messenger bags.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so we had about 15, 20 pre-orders for this company.
What?
And so we gave them back to everyone who had ordered, shipped them off. And I started getting emails from people that I didn't know. And it subject line said messenger bag.
No
Hi,
way.
yeah, hi. I know you don't know me, but I'm friends with Shannon. I'm friends with so and so, and I love her bag. Can you please, like, how can I place an order? I'm like, okay, this is getting out of control. So I was like, you know what? Forget it. Let's just go ahead and just do a quick photo shoot. I'll set up a website on Shopify. Like I basically already do this for a living as a
Mm-hmm.
merchandiser, and all of our business was mostly online. So I already work with the e-com teams. I'm like, this is already something that I do in my every day to day. So why don't I do this for fun? And so February 2015 is when we officially launched and online. And then we did pop-ups every other weekend here in the Bay Area, both in Oakland and in San Francisco. And we just spread like our organically through word of mouth and through these markets and through Instagram. And then we started to consign at different boutiques in Oakland, and we just kind of just kept growing and growing, and to the point where a year and a half into it, I was really just stressed because I was working so much. And then also I would work, 9 hours in the day and then come back and work 3, 4 hours when I got home after dinner. And
Oh my
so
goodness.
I just said, you know what? Let's just make a plan. Let's just, I have like reserve monies saved up. And at that point, my job was super toxic and I just had to get out. And
Wow.
so quit. And I was like, well, I got 6 months to get this really like to support myself. So that's how I became a full-time entrepreneur from corporate. And that's my kind of story
Oh my
from there.
goodness. It almost feels like this business found you.
Exactly. I never ever thought that I would be like design. I can't even
Yeah.
really say it because I just don't feel like it's true. I feel like I concept more, but I really do kind of design every aspect of every one of our styles. And
Yeah.
I knew I always wanted to have my own business. Like I always wanted to have a boutique. I even like created a business plan for it.
Mm.
But little did I know it'd be more of like my own brand and all of that. So I really got to marry my like analytical side in terms of business and trends and reports and all of that. And with my creative side in terms of I love developing new products and assortments. And then also with our photo shoots and like the aesthetic, I run
Mm.
all of our ads. And so I really
Wow.
love those parts of like running UnoEth.
Yeah, that's amazing. So tell me about that transition of you leaving the corporate world. Like at what point did you feel confident enough to take that leap and to go full force with UnoEth?
I think so. The point it got to was where we had really good, like consistent growth and consistent sales to a point where like you just have to lay out all the numbers. Like, what are your monthly liabilities for your business? What are your monthly liabilities for yourself? How much are you making in sales? You know, and when you see a consistent curve and a consistent trend, I'm like, okay, I feel confident that we can fulfill this and keep growing. That's how I knew I could take that leap. And because I had like 6 months of savings, I'm just like, okay, well, I'm going to do this. I'm really
Yeah.
going to put my good old college try. And if I don't, then I can go and get another job. Like I'm very employable.
Yeah.
So that's how I knew that once I saw the plan of like in terms of numbers, I felt more secure about that.
Yeah.
But I will say not a consistent check is very like nice, like feeling in terms of like security. So I was really battling between that and whatnot. And so, but when I first took that leap, I did do a crowd fund for about $10,000. And so
Okay.
that I wanted to put into inventory, which, you know, like all of that just it kept duplicating into more sales. And then also I did this program where I really created a really in-depth and business plan with a business mentor of mine for like weeks. We would work together for like 9 weeks on it. And then she helped me apply for my first business loan of I think at the time was like 35K or
Oh,
40K at
wow.
that
Okay.
point. And so then I was like, okay, I feel much more confident
Yeah.
and just invest more in product and marketing and whatever it may be. So um that's how things just kind of kept rolling. And that was
Yeah.
literally 6.5 years ago when I went full time. Like we've been in business for about a little over 8
Wow.
years.
It's
Mm-hmm.
amazing. Okay, so I
Thank
want to
you.
talk more about the fundraising because
Yeah.
that's a major challenge for a lot of businesses, a lot of fashion
Mm-hmm.
businesses, especially
Mm-hmm.
because it takes a lot of capital to build a fashion business. And
Yeah.
I mean, it depends on how, where you're starting. You can start small and,
Mm-hmm.
not invest so much, but you need
Mm-hmm.
capital, period. So
Yeah.
you talked about fundraising through
Mm-hmm.
crowdfunding
Mm-hmm.
and through obtaining a small business loan. So, can you tell me a little bit about the process with that? What crowdfunding
Sure.
site did you use? What was your
Yeah.
experience with that?
I first went through Kiva. They're a nonprofit organization.
Mm,
And not only can entrepreneurs in the States, but it's also global. So you can fundraise or crowdfund up to 10,000. I think maybe it's more now. And you have to do an application and then there's like two different steps or so. Like by your first week or so, like there's 30 days that you have to raise this money. So
okay.
like the first week or two, you have to get at least 25 of your network to contribute at least $25 towards your crowd fund.
So, you would have
Um,
to basically market this to your
mhm.
community.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I find the most effective way is to call people, like not
Yeah.
to just send an email, like
Yeah.
I mean, you can send a text obviously for like reminders, but like calling people, I'm like, hey, I know you heard about this little brand. Well, it's really actually growing and I'd love your support, blah, blah,
Mm,
blah. All you need to do is contribute at least $25 towards my crowd fund. I have this, like my deadline is this time
yeah.
and all of that. So you need 25 people to 15 or 25 people to contribute within a certain time period. And then you have to crowdfund the rest. What was great is that other companies, like say LinkedIn or like Microsoft or
Yeah.
whoever, they did matching programs. So say for a certain amount of
Wow.
days, they would match whoever's contributions during that time. So Kiva had a really great like network and how in that aspect. But the cool thing about Kiva is that it's actually you repay after you've raised the funds, you repay that each month at 0% interest.
Okay.
So, and I think it's up to 3 years or so. So anyway,
So instead of for example, like I did Indiegogo for my
mm-hmm,
crowdfunding, and
mm-hmm,
they you don't get equity in the company, but you do get product. So this is
mm-hmm.
they're getting their money back basically.
Yep, yep.
You're not giving product.
Not giving product, they're
Okay.
getting their money back. Yeah, yeah.
Interesting. I've never heard of this site.
Yeah, Kiva, Kiva. And you could do it multiple times as well too. And it was a great like way to, really be your true test. Like, do you really want this or not? Because back
Mm-hmm.
then you think like 10K is a lot of money, I mean, it is a lot of money, but I think once you start to get
Yeah.
into it, it's just like, it's
It's like
not.
$100.
Right, right. I feel like everything is $10,000
Yeah,
now.
I was just explaining to someone like $1,000 is like $100 in like business world. It's
Hmm.
not going to get you very far. But yeah,
Hmm.
when
Or
you're
even
just
just in
starting
your
out
30s.
anything, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
in California especially. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. So you did Kiva, that was
Hmm.
successfully
Yeah.
crowdfunded, and then tell me about the small business loan. Where did you get that through, and how did the process
Yeah.
for that go?
So I worked with a business advisor through Optima Business Bootcamp. Her name is Ronnie Langer and Kroger, and we worked together every week for like 9 weeks on my business plan to help, like, in my application for a business loan. So we worked on that together tirelessly, and I felt really sound and really confident in it. And I applied for my first business loan through Working Solutions. They're
Mhm.
also a nonprofit organization that funds small businesses and startups that are between the 0 to 5 years old range. And because it's so hard for small business owners to get funding in the beginning,
Mhm.
because you have no sales history, you have just or maybe very little sales,
Yeah.
as well. And you would need to, most banks, they want at least like 2 to 5 years worth of history before you start to apply for anything with them. And so the process was like a simple application, like how many businesses or business owners are involved and what are your sales projections. You include your business plan and all of that. And I submitted my business plan, like I said. And so they Working Solutions at the time, they funded up to 50,000 or so. And we were at the time approved for 40. So I was like, let me just take it all
Wow.
because
So you
I don't.
raised 40 from the small business loan. How much for
Mm-hmm.
from the crowdfunding?
10.
10. So you had
Mm-hmm.
$50,000 to start off with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. As a when I'm full time. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
When I was full
amazing.
time, where I am still. But anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did that. That was, I would say my first loan was, I want to say October. The first month into entrepreneurship was August 2017. And
Mhm.
then September, October. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
October.
you raced pretty quick.
It was my livelihood, you
You
know?
know, I always say when your back is up against the wall and you put all in, like you're going to figure it out. You're going to make that money somehow if you really
Somehow,
believe in
some
it.
way. And I will tell you, I wasn't sure that I was gonna make it in the crowd fund because I had about $4,000 left, like the last 4 days of like crowdfunding. I was
Oh
like,
my gosh.
this isn't gonna happen.
Is it one
I
of
was
those where you have to
stressed.
make the whole thing in order to get the money? Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like Kickstarter.
Yes, basically. And
Yeah.
I was stressed. I was pacing up and down. I was like, I'm just gonna work on I was like so tight.
Oh
So
my
tight right
gosh, I
here.
bet.
But then one person, I don't even know this person, put the full 4,000. And I was
Amazing.
bawling. I
I
don't know
bet.
who you are. So and so in New York. Thank you so much. Oh my
That
gosh.
is
So
so amazing.
yeah, but some stranger believed in me so much that they just dropped 4K.
And that's why you have to continue to believe until the last second because it's really easy
Yes.
to look at the natural and be like, it's not gonna happen, you know? So it's
Mm-hmm.
just so amazing to see how that kind of all panned out and you made the whole goal.
I was I actually thinking about it now, like I have goosebumps because of how I remember exactly how I felt. And I'm like, the universe
Wow.
really believes in me. I was like, okay, we better make this work.
And you have. Here we are 8 years later, and you've made it work.
Yeah.
So thank you to whoever that was that invested in this, because
I
look what it's
know.
produced.
I should
Okay.
look him up.
I know. Let's bring him on the podcast.
Yeah.
Um, so you mentioned that you started this with your dad. I'm so curious
Hmm.
about that because that's so special getting to work with a parent, but I'm sure also challenging at times. So tell
Hmm.
me about like what that looked like.
It's so funny because, I came from this corporate world, business world, and my dad is a college professor. He's been a
Oh,
college
no
professor for
way.
32 years. Sacramento City College. He loves his job.
Oh my
He's actually
gosh.
retiring this month. This is his last month working ever.
Wow.
Um,
With you too,
yeah.
or just
No, just
in
for Los Rios Community College.
okay, cool. I was like, is he leaving?
No, no, no. And so we come from different backgrounds in terms of, I'm type A, this should have been done yesterday, or, detail oriented. And he's like, okay, a little more laissez-faire kind
Your
of
dad
like
is me.
attitude. Yeah, so funny. And like I'm type A with like a laid back attitude, type B attitude. Like I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, let's get this done. It doesn't need to be like 1000% perfect. It just needs to get done. Like what are I think at this point in my life, I've learned like what are the priorities? You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
gonna, that's it. Um, anyway, I had to learn how to, I think, just communicate. It's just like you're
Mm.
communicating with your parent on a totally different level of, not just father daughter, like family style. This is like, okay, business partner style. Like, hey, I need you to do X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. He would have to, I guess, he would have to like, he's not a very like a conflict kind of guy. Like he's just, I would rather avoid it like the plague. And so, I guess he would get kind of scared to like give me some bad news. Like, hey, like our vendor wasn't able to deliver on time, or something along those lines. And sure, I get pissed, but so I had to really learn how to communicate like my frustrations in a much more subtle kind of like way, as opposed to like an emotional way that you would if you're just talking with your dad.
Yeah.
And so I had to learn. So I would say the first 2 years, it took a lot of like, learning and just straight up experiences to pop up and happen so that you can learn how to really just learn from experience, like I said.
Yeah. That's
Mhm.
awesome.
But I
So
love
tell
working with him though. It's just, he is so supportive and he takes no
mm,
credit. Like, this was his idea. My idea. This was his idea. So it's
yeah.
just kind of like, sir, like, oh, but you do everything, babe. I'm just here for support. I'm here for the shows, and I'll talk to the vendors. Like he's literally like created and like that whole foundation for us. And
Yeah.
well, that's about it.
But
You
maybe
just
he
won't take it.
prefers to be like in the background and
Oh
like you
yeah.
said, his
Oh
personality
yeah.
is very laid back and
Mm-hmm.
yeah. That's
Hates
awesome
photo
though.
shoots. But he does so well in them. He's such a natural.
Oh, I love it. That's awesome. Okay, so tell me what you guys did after raising that
Hmm.
40, 50K? Did we say
Yeah.
50? Yeah.
Hmm.
So what was your first step when you got that money? Did you know exactly where to invest it right away? Did it go right to production? Like what did you take that and
I
do?
I definitely divvied it up mostly to inventory so that we can have that in order to just make sales.
Yeah.
And then we invested into marketings and also just for just general operations like these application booth fees that were really the pop-ups were mainly in the beginning, probably like 90% of our business, so we had to keep popping up and going and going and going and all of that. So just general operations on that end. So inventory and operations was just it, because at the time I didn't have a studio. I
Hmm.
didn't have an employees. I did partner with opening a store with two other business owners the following year. So just, yeah, it was mainly just product and operations.
Okay. And how many styles did you start off with? Did you start
In the,
smaller or like
oh
what did
yeah.
your
Oh
collection
yeah.
look like in the
I think we
beginning?
had, well, we had our Sheba tote, our Tilak messenger, I think were we doing buckets back then? I think when we had like maybe a wallet and a bucket backpack. We
Mm-hmm.
had like four styles and like maybe three colors or so.
Yeah.
So that's how we started, which is very like minimal and like the tried and true like essentials for everyday kind of wear.
Yeah.
And now I think we're at like 100 different SKUs.
Wow. How did you start with those though? Did you have any proof of concept with the styles that you ended up producing? Did you have feedback on those? I know the messenger you off the bat
hmm
was like a fan favorite, but what about the other styles?
Yeah, the messenger was the still tried and true even till this day. The Sheba tote was just something like, well, okay, not everyone wears a messenger bag. Like some you may think that this is more of like a masculine kind of style or whatever it may be, but everyone wears a tote. And totes are
Mm-hmm.
probably definitely are one of our top selling styles. And I wanted to make it with a zipper. There were still hardly any totes with zippers. And I just wanted, like in the Bay Area, we just commuted because now with everything after COVID, offices are shut down, people aren't commuting as much. All of SF downtown is like ghost town now,
Wow.
which is sad. But I just thought of like, I asked everyone, what is your commute like? Or what is your day to day like? What are your needs? You know what I mean? How can I help you in
Yeah.
that aspect? And so, like, I really need this. I'm on BART, so I need security and, like, make sure all my
Mm.
stuff is collected and together. And then some other people were like, hey, I need two straps because I have back issues. So
Yeah.
backpacks, perfect. Okay. So those were the things we kind of focused on. And then once people basically had those items, like, what else do you have? I'm like, crossbodies. Okay, like let's get into that. Like, oh, I need a wallet with this. Okay, let's do a wallet. We would also even like pick up, my dad would go and pick up a lot of different like random styles from different artisans in Ethiopia too, and just try them out and see how people felt. We even had what was really popular headphone holders.
Interesting. I didn't know that
Like,
was a thing.
oh my gosh, like I
Do I need a headphone holder? Like,
Well,
what is
now that
that?
we have like AirPods and stuff, it's just kind
Right.
of so you would basically just like wrap it around like the headphone holder and it had just like a little snap and just kept it like closed together like this.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm just thinking about like you're making me go through like the booth days of just like selling and what we have. We've had
Yeah.
so many and now I start to feel old.
Oh, stop it. Time goes by so fast when you're building a business, though. It's
So
insane.
fast.
I feel like the
Mm-hmm.
last few years have like flown before my eyes.
I
Um,
know.
I want to talk more about your production process, though, and
hmm
producing in Ethiopia. Where did you even find the artisans that you would end up working with? I know your dad initially sourced
hmm
that messenger bag from a artisan in Ethiopia, but how
Yeah.
did it go from there? How did you scale? Like, what did that look like?
So it's funny. So with our artisan partner Muzay and Siraj, we both started together. Like he feels like
Hmm.
a brother to me because
Wow.
we both kind of helped each other grow our businesses together and scale and scale. Like he started in his mom's like house, where
Oh my
he like
goodness.
lived, and like I started in my one bedroom apartment, and then I moved into a house. So that was in my garage. And then I moved into a small studio and another studio, now like a bigger studio. So he has done the same thing during
Yeah.
that time. And so that's how we met him, but also my aunt who lives in Ethiopia. She helped us so much in growing our business because she worked for Ethiopian Airlines as one of their in their VP as a VP, and
Wow.
she has crazy connections. She knows everybody. Like if I have an issue and I'll give her a call, it'll be resolved in 24 hours. Like she's like this cutthroat businesswoman, like
Mm,
boss babe, like, energy.
that's
And
amazing.
we call her like the colonel because she just like she may be the smallest one, but she bosses everybody around in the
Oh my
family.
goodness.
Like no one can test her. Like she is like she runs things. And so she also helped us a lot because especially in terms of shipping from Ethiopia
Yeah.
to Oakland or San Francisco and with cargo things, it was just such a I was never an importer, you
Yeah.
know. I'm like, I would literally go on my lunch to the customs department in downtown San Francisco, try to meet with somebody to help me fill out my customs entry form, because if it's wrong, then it'll get denied, and
Yeah.
they only work Monday through Friday from 9 to 5, and they take their 1 hour lunch. So I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, and if it's wrong, then it's the cargo is just going to sit there, and then you're going to accumulate fees at the cargo place in SFO, and I was stressed out, and so
Girl. I I know this too. Like I'm so
uh,
triggered right now because we
triggering myself.
like usually when we import fabrics and goods and stuff, we do it through the supplier, right? They take care of
Mm-hmm.
all of that. They import it and we just deal with them. La Maybe a year ago, we developed our own fabric, started importing, and
Oh.
did not know any of this. I thought they're just
Mm-hmm.
gonna ship it. It's just gonna. He was like, you can get
Oh,
it from the
UPS
airport. I was
it.
like,
Yeah.
okay, I'll get it
Mm-hmm.
from the airport. I was in Hawaii on vacation at the time and found out I needed a customs broker. Got my customs broker. It was on a Friday and they don't work on
Oh
the
God.
weekends.
No.
Turns out that they were charging us $100 and something a day to
Mm-hmm.
keep it there if I didn't come pick
Mm-hmm.
it up. So I'm on vacation stressing out because my fabric is sitting
Oh
here in customs
no.
and then you have to pay to get it out of customs. I'm like,
Yes.
oh my gosh. So I'm like, I know this very well now.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's
yes, I know
yeah.
the struggle.
I think the first two shipments, I was able to do it by myself, because if it's under a certain amount of money,
Yeah.
like valued goods, then you don't get charged a certain fee. If it's over, like, if you can't say claim it's personal,
Mm-hmm.
like, and then if it's over, say, $1,500 or something like that, then you gotta claim everything that's inside and whatnot. And and so then after that, they're like, why don't you just use a customs broker? I'm like, why don't I just use a customs? I didn't know a customs broker even existed. Like,
Yeah.
what do I need them for? Honey, they had it landed, say a shipment would land at 12, it would be cleared by 2:30. You know what I mean? Then I can go,
Mm-hmm.
and then I would go pick it up myself, because
Yeah.
I'm not paying, 100 and some dollars at that time for someone to come and deliver it to me. Like, I'll go pick
It's
it up.
so
I have an SUV,
expensive. Yeah,
everything,
exactly.
everything.
Gas is cheaper at this point, like to go pick it up. Yeah.
Right. Right.
I don't think people understand the challenges of importing
Yeah.
goods. And so this is
Mm-hmm.
good to talk about because
Right.
you have to count all these costs.
Right. And it just makes me think about, I got a DM on Sunday or Monday. And this woman, so we were featured on CBS's Black Renaissance segment, where it highlighted my father and I and our business.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to talk about how everything's made in Ethiopia and blah, blah, some successes. And the woman sent us a DM. She's like, hi there, like, congratulations on everything and your success. It was so great to learn about your business on Black Renaissance on TV. I can't say the same about your prices. Why? It's hard for low to middle income people like me to support businesses like yours. It almost feels the same as going to a big company or whatnot. And please consider, consider us and consider your pricing in the future. Just a thought.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, I understand my brand is not for everybody, but I do understand that my prices are fair compared to in terms of what I bring in terms of quality, in terms of material, and in terms of what we do in terms of supporting artisans in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
Yeah.
What people don't understand are the costs that are tied to each and every bag that we sell, for the importing fees to the duty fees that we now carry because the AGOA Act is no longer serving us anymore, and for everything that comes into running a business. You guys are experiencing high prices, and so are we. So we have to, in order to keep supporting people that is a main core of our business in Ethiopia, we have to support ourselves too, so we can keep doing what we want to do, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
I've definitely got one of those before too. But I think, yeah, it's important also when we have these businesses, especially that, you know, are paying fair wages and, trying to do the right thing, that we have to educate too, because people
mhm,
just don't sometimes can't reconcile the prices, but then
mhm,
they also are not informed about, that dress that you're getting from Forever 21. How do you think it gets down to like $5? You know what I mean?
mhm, mhm,
Somewhere in that, you know, in
mhm,
that that whole thing, like someone's probably not getting paid fairly, something's going on there. So
mhm.
yeah, I think it's really great to educate as much as we can and, show the process and all of that. And so that brings me to my next question about how how you market and how you share the story of your brand with your customers, through social media, through any of your marketing efforts. How do you educate them and share that story with them?
You know, Jasmine, this is actually something that I need to improve upon. I've always led with the product in terms of this is a great bag. It's leather, it's handmade in Ethiopia. We support artisans. Those are the top three things that I like advertise in like our on Instagram, on our website,
Mm-hmm.
and those three things make it kind of simple. And I need to do a better job at advertising our story and how we got started because that I've always remembered that facts tell and stories sell. And
Mm,
people may not remember all the facts, but remember the story. They remember how it like the story made them feel. And I want people to remember our story when they're carrying our bag and when they could tell the same story to other people who ask about the bag. And so I'm gonna do a better job at it, but I definitely like in all of our communications, like there's a handmade, there's a made in Ethiopia, there's an artisan made, there's those keywords like all throughout our pages. And it's something that we need to emphasize more. And I think I've always just been a little more shy about it. I don't know why, but thank you for bringing that
yeah.
up.
Yeah. No, I think storytelling's so important for purpose-driven brands and brands that are, doing good. People need to
Mhm.
know like what the background is, and I think like you said, that emotional tie to it, people really get invested
Mhm.
in, and it really moves people. And I think it even allows them to like want to share with other people and
Right.
want to spread the word. And that's free marketing for you. So
Hmm.
yeah, we need to start becoming more so of storytellers, less of sellers.
Right. That's exactly how this brand started. It was through, Instagram just started. Like it just came out
Mm,
during that time. So we weren't like popping then, but people met us in person, my dad and I, at Treasure Island Market or Second Saturdays in Jack London Square in Oakland. They met us that way. They got that firsthand feel and smell of our product and also just to hear our story. And we as you know, how much we have to repeat our story all day long when we're
yeah.
selling in person. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I think, and they take a card, they take a flyer, they buy something, or they tell their friends and whatever it may be. So that part for me is was something I really want to focus on for this year.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. And tell me about like so you mentioned being on TV recently. It was CBS, right?
Yeah.
Which
Hmm.
is amazing.
Thank
Tell us
you.
about that opportunity, how that came about, and how brands can do a better job at promoting themselves and getting these TV spots or getting press mentions to kind of
Hmm.
increase sales and awareness.
I am very lucky that I all of our press people have sought us. I I'm not this is another thing that I'm working on, Jasmine. Is to get out of my own way and to like create these opportunities. I've been blessed with the opportunities to be featured on Insecure. I literally received an
Oh my
email from
gosh.
Shiona Tarini and her team for season 4, and they said, "Hey, we want to feature your brand." They were talking about oh, these are the main characters. These are, I'm like, I know Insecure. I know my favorite show. What do you guys want? I'll send you anything, you know?
Oh my gosh.
So Shiona chimed in and like listed the different styles. And I was like, okay, great. Overnighted it to them. They received it. They sent everything back. And maybe a month or two later. So I don't know what was actually used. And I didn't know until we started watching the show. And it happened to be at the height of the pandemic, like in
Perfect.
April. Right. And we got to advertise, post about it. And, Shiona Tarini posted our stories as well too.
Wow.
And it's just kind of like during that time, I didn't have any inventory because it was all sitting in Ethiopia, like waiting to get shipped. The whole bottleneck of like shipping
Oh my
just
gosh, it was a nightmare.
it was a nightmare, absolute nightmare. I had products ready to go. They were supposed to arrive in March. They didn't arrive until June.
Oh my
I was,
gosh.
I had, I was not making any money because of this pandemic and because of lack of inventory. I was like, I need to find a job. I'm going to quit this business.
Oh
Like
my
I didn't know where I was
gosh.
going to go. So as soon as it dropped, we posted about it. I'm like, hey, you can get a pre-order, get on our pre-orders, da da da. So that's also being resourceful. You know what I mean? As an entrepreneur,
Gotta get
I'm like, I'm gonna get
scrappy. Figure it out.
Scrappy is like my middle name sometimes. And so and during the pandemic, it was just a lot of, support Black owned businesses. I mean, you and
Yeah.
I were on this analytics report, like an internal analytics report for sustainable Black owned brands to watch. I don't know if I feel like I sent that to you. Anyway.
I'm like,
And
wait, what report was this? There was so
there,
much in 2020, honestly. Like,
I know there was this internal report that listed you, me, my friend Taylor, and several other
oh yeah,
Black owned
Taylor J.
brands. Yeah, Taylor
Yeah.
J, Black owned brands, sustainable brands to watch. And and also Brother Vellies was on it. So it was like
Wow.
it had a whole trend analytics of like, it had our followers, it had like a bunch of internal industry things.
That's
And I found
amazing.
out about it because there was this wholesale company wanted to partner with us. And
Hmm.
he's like, yeah, you were on this list. I was like, excuse me? And he's like, yeah, you're this report. I was like, okay, and you were on it. So
Oh,
anyway,
cool. Well,
I'll resend it to you. I'm
yeah,
pretty
find
and
it. There was so
yeah.
much press around that time. I honestly don't know, but
Oh yeah, Marie Claire, like
yeah.
it was nice.
I want to touch on something you said though, because you were just
Sure.
saying that, you've just been blessed with these opportunities, which I do
Hmm.
believe you have been, and, believe there is favor and that, all of that. But I
Hmm.
also believe that in order for us to be blessed, we also have to take steps of faith and put things in order and be in a position where we can be blessed, right? And so I think there's also something in our part, right? We do the work. We
Hmm.
do the branding, we do the
Hmm.
post, we put
Hmm.
ourselves out there to be found
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
you know, you can have the most amazing brand, but if no one can discover you, it means
Hmm.
absolutely nothing, right? So
Absolutely nothing.
I think that it's great that you already had been building this brand, you've been doing the work. And so,
Hmm.
when your work meets that opportunity and you're able to be found, then these amazing opportunities come up for you, which is
Hmm.
great. So
Hmm.
I think that just speaks to the importance of like, even if you feel like you're not being seen or like, your brand, you have this small community and no one, can find
Hmm.
you or whatever it may be, just keep doing what you're doing, keep being consistent. And, you
Hmm.
know, when the work you're putting in meets the opportunity, then things happen.
Absolutely. And I agree 100%. Like, I don't believe that any energy you put into something won't come back to you.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter if that's like health wise, if it's business wise, if it's energy in your relationships, your friendships, and whatever you put out in the universe will come back to you 1000%. And I think that is what is truly, you have to keep going, whether do it scared. If
Hmm.
do it if you're not feeling great, or you know what I mean? Just do what you can and be okay with that. And consistency is always going to prevail. It
Yeah.
really is. And also when you see other people, receiving praise, clap for them.
Yes.
Don't be jealous. Like, be clap for them, be happy for your friends and even for your competitors. Whatever, we can all win. Like, there's so many people on this earth. Like, I'm not trying to be the number one handbag company in the world. That's stressful. And I don't that's not my I don't feel like that's my where I'm trying to be in life. I just want
Yeah.
to make a positive impact here on this earth while I'm here and have fun doing it and traveling and coming up with an amazing assortment.
Yeah. And you know what? No one can do what you do how you do it. You're the
Yes.
only you. You only have your mind, your own creativity, your own thoughts. Like, no one's going to be able to duplicate what you've already done, even if they try. And so
Right.
I think that, that's important to remember too, is just to be yourself and do what you do. What keeps you going? Like, what has kept you going these last 8 years? What has made you this relentless to keep pushing and, keep yourself focused?
In the beginning, it was more of just like personal freedom. I think coming from the corporate world, you are told what to do over and over and over again. And I internally hated that. I hated being told what to do, where to be, and all this kind of stuff. And especially being the only Black person in this like toxic environment, that was what led me to one, leave, and two, I craved freedom of choice and to create my own schedule and to just do what I wanted to do and to not have a limit on how much money I can make and to be able to be like, I'm gonna take today off and or I'm gonna work as hard as I want today and I want to develop these types of products. Like, I just want it. That's what I would really strove for, aim for. And when there was a trip that my dad and I went back to Ethiopia and visited our artisan partner museum, and we went to his new shop, his new workshop. When we arrived, he had this big sign. He was just wanted to show us his new space. He had so much pride. He had new employees and just he had our pictures like of our styles
Oh
like
my
taped up
goodness.
all over in the workshop. And that's when I knew that this was bigger than just selling bags. This isn't about just making a lot of money. This isn't about just, being famous, or not that I've never want to be famous. It was just that was when I knew that this is what I'm working for. I'm working for it to create these opportunities where they didn't exist before and to really help other people support their families and to really have this connection with my father's home country and to know that we've sent over thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars into where my dad is from and to support people who look like me. And so that's what really keeps me going because my vendor, during the pandemic, I was the only one placing orders with him. Like all the other companies he was working with a handful of other brands like mine in Portugal and Spain and Canada, but I was the only one supporting him. And
Wow.
so it's just very like if we didn't have these, we wouldn't be surviving. Like he wouldn't be around. So I feel a duty to really keep going, to really keep this business model of supporting artisans and small businesses all over the globe, like part of what I do for the rest of my life, or as long as I can, you know.
Yeah.
So that's what really has been pushing me over the 8 years. And also just we have standards, we have goals, of how we want to live. And, I'm not there yet. So that's what also keeps me going.
Yeah. It's powerful. Okay, so tell me what you would tell an emerging designer who is kind of trying to take a similar path of working with
hmm
artisans or
hmm
to create a brand of some sorts that, has this greater mission behind it. What advice would you give them?
I always give any entrepreneur this have a plan. Because when we first started UnoEth, before I went full time, we did not have a plan. We didn't know where we were going. We were just kind of winging it and having a good time. until it got to a point where like, okay, we need to buckle down and really create this plan. So have a plan, and also that it's okay to start small. You don't
Yeah.
have to be this huge, like start with this huge company and blow up in a year and, be viral and be all over the place. Like that's like it's not sustainable, especially if you're doing it for an emerging brand and you're working with sustainably and, with a small batch or whatever it may be. Be okay with starting small, and everything, it's going to be a bumpy road. It's still a bumpy road. And that is normal for that to happen. And whenever you receive any type of resistance, like you're going to have to go through it. You can't go around it. You can't go over it. Can't go under it. You have to go right through it. And it may be painful sometimes, but it's always beautiful in the end. And there's so many lessons that you take with you, and you just become so much more wiser, and you know what to do when it happens again, or just and honestly, some of the problems you may face, they may be really funny. How you and I are laughing about importing and our
Oh my
struggles doing
gosh.
that. So
Triggered, but it's funny. Yes, in
at this
hindsight.
point, yeah, I'm just like, why did I do these things? But there's just so many lessons that you just wouldn't be
Yeah.
able to do if you just didn't do it. Like just do it scared, and be authentically you. That's always gonna win. Don't try to be anybody else.
Yeah.
I feel like I was trying to do that at some point. You know what I mean? Like, and I just have to realize I'm like, no, this is who I am. I'm not gonna be anybody else. I'm not gonna try to change for to be what's popular and to be
Right.
what everyone else is doing, because that's just boring.
Yeah, and it's exhausting. I feel like you
Mm-hmm.
stress yourself out trying to copy this mold, but being exactly who you
Yeah,
are is enough.
right.
So what's next for UnoEth? What can we expect? What's coming soon? What are your visions for the future?
So I am so excited that we are going to be launching our home line at the end of this year,
Ooh.
late fall, early holiday. I love home decor. Obviously, I came from home decor before I came over here, and that is going to include woven goods. We are partnering with an amazing weaver in Addis Ababa, and they have these amazing cotton hand woven blankets and throws and robes. And so that's part of our woven collection and pillow covers. And then we're introducing a candle that we're working with a Black owned perfumer. Amazing. Like I wanted to do one, I'm obsessed with candles. Like I don't
Yes.
know who is. I probably spend a little bit too much money on candles. But so Black owned brand here, based here in Oakland or in the Bay Area. And so we're working together to create a scent that smells like our studio.
Oh, I
Um,
love it.
so it's funny because every time like we at a pop-up, people would comment like, "Oh, I love the smell of leather." And at this point in my life, like I am so used to the smell of leather, I just barely smell it. And plus post having COVID last year, I'm like, my sense of anything has kind of gone awry.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be a combination of leather and Palo Santo, because I always light that in our
Yum.
studio. So it's going to be a nice and smooth. We're working on a scent now, and so we're launching that, and then also some leather pillow covers. We have done leather baskets in the past. We sold out, so we're relaunching those in different colors and styles, and so that'll be at the end of this year, and some other wholesale partners that are still in the works too. So I'm excited for that end of this year.
Yes, love it. Okay, so I want you to end this episode by telling me what you have been most proud of from your journey.
For me, I am most proud of my resilience. I think I've often looked back at all the things that I've endured, both personally and through business. And I've realized, I have overcome a lot. And I've realized also that when I'm in therapy, like talking about things with my therapist, like, girlfriend, that's a lot. I think the ability to just cry and then just take a deep breath, shake it off, and just work through it. I think there's a lot of challenges that we battle within ourselves. And so, especially with, mental health and things like that. And I'm glad that conversation is a lot more, that topic is a lot more popular, and anxiety and depression are just, they're very real things that a lot of people experience, and now we have actual names to them, and people are able to identify it more and are open
Yeah.
to talk about it. But so just the resilience to keep going, and through the thick of it, find the beauty. I think that's very important, to recognize what you're surrounded yourself with, and that there's beauty in everything,
Hmm.
and just the ability to focus on the most positive things and in the middle of all the negativity. And so I commend myself for just pushing through it and not giving up. And because I feel like I would be giving up on myself. And that's one thing I will never do, is to give up.
Perfect. So tell me where people can find you, where people can shop UnoEth. Give us all the handles.
All the handles. So you can follow us on Instagram. It's at UNOETH, Unoeth. I'm also on Unoeth too. So it's at XIOMARART, Xiomara RT, and our website where you can buy all the things. It's UNOETH.com, Unoeth.com. And we do free standard
Perfect.
shipping on orders over $50.
Go buy something right now. See, that's
Hurry up and
marketing, you
buy.
guys. You got to give us all of the information. Perfect. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Xiomara. It's been so great talking to you and just hearing some of the history behind your brand, how you got started, all of the good stuff. Thank you so much for sharing with us.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me.